Man, I gotta tell you, yesterday was quite a day in Congress. Big, beautiful bill. Kristi Noem sticking it to Democrats. Nancy Mace showing naked video of herself. This is, I gotta tell you, this is not your father's Congress. That's all I'm saying. I don't know if showing naked video of yourself is a prerequisite these days to get to Congress, but if it is, I'm still down for it. I'm still going to run. What's up? This is Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. Hey, listen, before we get to Nancy Mace and her really chilling testimony where she shared some of the secret video that was taken by her ex, some of the video that she says now it's not just her. It is countless women, countless hours and hours and hours of women who have had secret videos taken and secret photos taken by this guy. And of course, it's not just an isolated case. We'll get to all that here in just a minute because it was the last time I saw somebody naked in Congress. It was, let's see. Well, there was Hunter Biden because Marjorie Taylor Greene showed those photos of him. There were those two dudes, the twinks, I think they called them, who had a little, something in the Senate room, one of the Senate hearing rooms, and now Nancy Mace. So I did not know that there was so much nudity in Congress, but apparently it is. And Kristi Noem, she was, because one of the things that Congress has to do is periodically they have to bring all of Donald Trump's cabinet members to the Hill. They have to talk to them. They have to try to make them look like fools. Well, they don't have to, but they choose to. And then they have to get their butts whooped because these people that President Donald Trump has placed in positions of power within his administration are way smarter than the Democrats who sit on these committees, except John Fetterman. I'm going to be honest with you. John Fetterman is a roller coaster of political emotion for me. I'm going to lean in here a little bit. How's it going? Hey, how you doing? Everybody, Joey Tribbiani. John Fetterman is a roller coaster of political emotion to me because there are times when I'm like, this guy, this vegetable shouldn't be in the Senate. What are the Democrats thinking? Then he says something really smart and commonsensical, and I go, oh, he's pretty good. Then they get their claws into him and they rip him back, and then I'm like, oh no, he's just one of the swamp creatures. Then he says something else, and I go, wait a minute, maybe those drugs they're giving him are actually working. But he's a seesaw. A political seesaw, and definitely a liability for the Democrats. Could be an asset for the Republicans. We'll get to all that here in just a minute. But before we delve in to Kristi Noem and her exposing Democrats for what they are in Congress, before we get into Nancy Mace exposing herself in Congress, before we get to John Fetterman exposing that he may actually not be a Democrat after all, we got to talk about Donald Trump at the Oval Office with the president of South Africa and the idiotic reporters who are still hyped up on this jet, man. I don't know what it is, but they're jealous, or they've been told they believe that this is the issue that's going to help them win back whatever it is they lost, which was basically everything. But they've got this jet in their teeth like a dog with a bone, and they are not letting go. They have jumped up on Donald Trump's leg with this jet, and they are just going to town, and they will not stop. The Oval Office, Donald Trump is hosting the president of South Africa, who is, maybe not the nicest guy. This is a guy who Cyril Ramaphosa, I think his name is Ramaphosa, and Elon Musk is there staring him down because they've had some beef. But Donald Trump's got the president of South Africa in there, and they're talking about the mass slaughter of Afrikaner farmers. They're talking about the potential genocide, and they're discussing, these refugees that came from South Africa to the United States, these white refugees, because that's what the media always wants you to know, that they're not just refugees, they're white refugees. They're not just South African refugees. They're white South African refugees, because that's the really important part of the story. And in the middle of discussing the mass slaughter of innocent civilians, one of these reporters interrupts President Donald Trump to talk about the Qatari jet, which is officially now a United States jet. We took it. We got it. The Defense Department has taken delivery of the Qatari jet. It's here. They're going to start retrofitting it. Donald Trump is going to start using it as soon as possible as Air Force One. And this reporter from, I think it's NBC, I'm not really sure, it's one of those places, doesn't care about the mass slaughter of white South African farmers, doesn't care about the Afrikaners and the genocide, doesn't care about those serious issues that President Donald Trump is addressing with the South African president, right? Doesn't have any questions about that. Wants to talk about the plane. Hey, what's up with the plane?
to respond.
You know, you got to get out of here. What does this have to do with the Qatari jet? They're giving the United States Air Force a jet, okay? And it's a great thing. We're talking about a lot of other things. It's NBC trying to get off the subject of what you just saw. You are a real, you're a terrible reporter. Number one, you don't have what it takes to be a reporter. You're not smart enough. But for you to go into a subject about a jet that was given to the United States Air Force, which is a very nice thing. They also gave $5.1 trillion worth of investment in addition to the jet. Go back. You ought to go back to your studio at NBC because Brian Roberts and the people that run that place, they ought to be investigated. They are so terrible the way you run that network, and you're a disgrace. No more questions from you. Go ahead.
And you're a disgrace. You are too stupid to be a good reporter. You're a disgrace. I love that. I love it. He's name checking the NBC executives. He's name checking NBC. He's saying no more reporters from you. No more questions from you. You're so stupid. You're not even, you're asking about a jet. You didn't ask about the trillions of dollars of investment they gave me. You asked about a stupid jet. You didn't ask about that. You didn't ask about the trillions of dollars of technological investment in AI advancement that they're going to be bringing to the country. You didn't ask about any of that. Also, we're talking about something really serious. In fact, President Donald Trump he showed like a, well, all right, here he is introducing what he was going to talk about. And then he showed, this is wild. He showed this video, which Donald Trump is really, really, really into videos. If you ever go to his rallies, you see he has these really well-produced videos that he shows. A video showing African leaders just being totally horrible. But here's what he said.
So we'll be discussing many things and some of the things you've been reading about in the papers and the media. And I would say that, look, the president is a truly respected man in many, many circles. And in some circles, he's considered a little controversial. But we're going to be discussing some of the things that are taking place in South Africa and see if we can help. And we want to help. And we've had a long relationship with South Africa. I have, because indirectly I have so many friends that live there. I have a lot of friends. I mean, these are famous guys, but I have a lot of friends that live there that are tremendous people. And we'll be discussing that. We'll have a nice conversation. And I really appreciate that you guys came along. It really helps us in our thought process. But it is a great honor to have you, and I appreciate you called. He called. I don't know where he got my number, but I picked up. He said, I want to come over and see you. That was my honor, and thank you very much for being here.
You're most welcome.
He's very controversial to some people. Yeah, the people that he's, allowing to be killed in mass. That's one of the things Donald Trump wants to talk to him about. And he said, look, he said, we're gonna pause here for a moment, and we're gonna play this 3 to 4 minute long clip of African leaders talking about the death of Afrikaners.
We don't care. We can do whatever you want to do. Who are you to tell us whether we can occupy land or not? We are going to occupy land. South Africa occupy land. That's who we are. Whatever we want to do, how can we draw my membership from this useless parliament? Yes, honorable member. Must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of a revolutionary act.
Yeah, so he's going through and he's showing all these African leaders and they're yelling, never be afraid to kill. With a revolution, there has to be a point where you can't be afraid of killing. There's no revolution without killing. Killing's what revolutions are all about. You can't have there's no non-killing revolution. What are you talking about? There's no revolution where everybody gets out with their life. Somebody's got to die. And in this instance, it's going to be the white Afrikaner farmers. But Donald Trump plays this clip, which is kind of, then he talks about it. And then he talks about all of the white crosses and all of the farmers who are being memorialized. And he shows clips of just miles and miles and miles of these mourners.
Of white farmers. And those cars are lined up to pay love on a Sunday morning. Each one of those white things you see is a cross, and there's approximately 1,000 of them. They're all white farmers, the family of white farmers. And those cars aren't driving, they're stopped there to pay respects to their family member who was killed. and it's a terrible sight. I've never seen anything like it.
I've never seen anything like it, and the president's sitting right next to me, and this is his country that we're talking about, and he's saying, "Look, these are the things that we're talking about today. These are the things we're discussing." Then there was, I don't know if it was the same reporter or another reporter, but another one said, "So why are you bringing these refugees here?" Donald Trump shows a video where elected officials, I don't know if they're elected or not, or if they're, I don't know if they're elected or if it's like the Democrat Party where they just stick in the people that they want and then let the auto pen run everything. But he goes, look, these elected officials are talking about killing white folks, killing farmers, killing the Afrikaners, revolutions. There's already Afrikaners who are scared scared to death for their lives. And we brought some in after we vetted them. And this guy's like, why?
Can you explain to Americans why it's appropriate to welcome white Afrikaners here when other refugees like Afghans, Venezuelans, Haitians have all had their protected status revoked?
Well, this is a group, NBC, that is truly fake news. They ask a lot of questions in a very pointed way. They're not questions, they're statements. We've had tremendous complaints about Africa, about other countries too, from people. They say there's a lot of bad things going on in Africa, and that's what we're going to be discussing today. When you say we don't take others, all you have to do is take a look at the southern border. We let 21 million people come through our border, totally unchecked, totally unvetted. They came from all over the world. In many cases, they're criminals. They come from prisons. They come from mental institutions. They come from street gangs. They're drug dealers. So don't say that we didn't take them. We're trying to get them out as fast as we can. And we're doing record business on that. And we just won a big case where we're allowed to send back hundreds of criminals to Venezuela. Just won that today in the Supreme Court. I'm happy to hear.
Yeah, so Donald Trump's like, don't come at me, bro, with this we're only taking white people. You know how many non-white people we've taken in over the years from Latin America, from El Salvador, from Venezuela, from the Congo, from Syria, from Asia, from all over. Not just illegal immigrants, not just gang members, not just drug dealers and human traffickers, not just Tren de Aragua and MS-13, but terrorists. We took in terrorists. We just opened up the border and we were like, hey, terrorists, come on in. No, we're not going to vet you. No, we don't care where you're from. We don't care who you are. We don't care what kind of harm you want to do to Americans. Just come on in. Just doors open. Walk on in. And President Donald Trump, we talked about that a little bit. He talked about yesterday with the auto pen. In fact, I should play that again too. But he said, look, this is what's been going on. We have been taking in these people for a very long time. We don't know who they are. We don't know what they're doing here. So don't talk to me about bringing in a handful of well-vetted white African farmers who are running for their lives. It's what we do in the United States of America. And if they weren't white, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. But it was all the auto pen who let it happen. So that's going on right now. Donald Trump is in the Oval Office just admonishing NBC reporters, just embarrassing these folks from NBC for asking stupid questions about why we're bringing in some people and why we're getting jets from Qatar, which I really thought the Qatari jet story was about dead. I thought the Qatari jet story was, on the way out. I thought the Qatari jet story with all the Joe Biden stuff and all the big, beautiful bill stuff, I thought for sure the media would be like, hey, maybe we should report on some real news. Maybe we should report on some real news that actually affects people. But they're like, no, we don't want to do that. We want to keep talking about the Qatari jet. Oh, which reminds me, speaking of people, man, this James Comey guy, I got to be honest with you. It's even worse than I thought. I thought for sure that James Comey was here's what I thought at first. First, I thought, okay, James Comey is doing this. He's doing this whole thing with the shells just because he wants some free publicity. Then I thought, oh, you know what? I think this got away from him. I think that James Comey, once the Secret Service started coming and investigating him, once people started saying, hey, that what you're doing is threatening the life of the president, I think after that, I thought he'd maybe thought, I need to pump the brakes a little bit because I wanted some free publicity for my book. I wanted people to go out and buy my stupid novel, but I did not want to get investigated by the Secret Service. I did not want to, and I don't want to spend my advance on legal fees. That's not any fun at all. So now that I'm watching these clips, I don't think that's true at all. I think he's now I think he has planned this. I think this is going exactly the way he wanted. I mean, keep in mind, he was the director of the FBI. He knows what happens if you vaguely threaten the president of the United States of America. I think he knew when he posted the Instagram post that he was going to get invited down for a little talking to. I think he knows that he was going to get all of the free publicity he got online. And I think he knew that he was going to end up where? Wait for it. On the Stephen Colbert show, where he threw his wife right under the bus. So James Comey saying, hey, you know what? It wasn't me. It was my wife. It was my wife who said you should. My wife said take a photo of it. My wife said Instagram that. My wife said this is a great idea. It wasn't me. It was my wife threatening the president of the United States of America. Clearly, I think that story sounds, I'm going to be honest with you, a little too rehearsed, a little too well defined. The examples there, I think, are a little too clear. I think James Comey knew exactly what he was doing, and I think it's going exactly the way he planned. Also, this isn't the first time, apparently he's done this. I didn't know this. This just popped up. But if you go to, well, pretty much anywhere, let's see, the Daily Mail has it. James Comey's shell game threatening post about Trump wasn't the only time he used a mollusk to send a message. That's very cute, Daily Mail. Longtime anti-Trumper James Comey sure knows, that's funny, what he's doing when it comes to unsubtle political statements. DailyMail.com can reveal the washed-up Fed previously posted a photo of a clamshell on a beach prior to the 2024 election painted with the words, "Vote Harris in blue." Saw this at the beach, the former FBI chief claimed in the October 10th post, which reeled in 2,700 likes. 2,700 likes. Ariel understands the assignment, he added, an apparent reference to Ariel from The Little Mermaid. That's really creepy. That's cringe right there. Comey, who was fired by President Trump in May 2017 after a 4-year stint as FBI director, has a history of fishy posts. 1 week ago, he posted a photo of himself relaxing on the beach engrossed in a novel, his own. Photos from 2023 show the quirky retiree attempting to grow a wispy Robinson Crusoe beard. It's weird. Anyway, here's the 8647 once again. But look, this is the shell. I didn't know this, but in 2024, prior to the election, James Comey found a painted shell that says "Vote Harris" on the inside, I guess on the same beach. It's like this is like the bluest, most Democrat beach you could ever find. I don't know where it is. I don't know if it's Rehoboth Beach. I don't know if it's the same beach that Joe Biden goes to all the time. But this beach, man, it is. You want to talk about a blue ocean? That is one of the bluest oceans ever. Jesse Waters sent one of his little minions out to troll James Comey really well. I got to be honest with you. Hats off. I'm not wearing a hat, but if I were wearing one, hats off to Jesse Waters. This made me laugh out loud. He sent one of his reporters out to James Comey's book signing to ask him some questions about 86ing President Donald Trump.
Thank you for coming. Yeah, it's great to meet you.
Hello. Director Comey,
Yeah.
how are you?
Good, thank you.
Jesse Waters from Fox has a question.
Yeah.
Why do you want to 86 Trump?
All right.
Director?
I'm not taking questions like that now.
Why would you
Just signing the book.
Why would you post that? Director Comey, how was your interview with the Secret Service?
You want the book signed, really?
Absolutely.
Okay, you got it, bud.
Can you sign my seashell too? Which beach is this that you're going to? You find a Kamala seashell, 8647. This is a politically charged beach, Director.
They will.
Come on. Director, the seashell? You don't want to sign it?
Have a nice thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Have a good night. Thank you. Good night, Director.
Will you sign my seashell too? Hey, Director Comey, will you sign my seashell? What? No, you won't? Okay. That's when I laughed out loud. That's when I spewed my coffee. Showing up at the book signing, that's okay. That's fine. Asking about the, okay, why do you want 86 Trump? I get it. But when he goes, will you sign my seashell? Oh, that's fantastic. That's James Comey. And look, and you saw how calm and cool and he knows he's not getting in trouble. He knows he's getting free publicity. He knows he's signing the books because he knows he's getting on Fox News now, and he knows that he's going to get on Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. He knows all this stuff. He's not a stupid guy. Annoying, spineless, evil, yes, but not stupid. That's the problem with most Democrats. Not all, but most Democrats. At least the old school Democrats. The current Democrats are just stupid. You've got like LaMonica McIver, she's not bright. Jasmine Crockett, I don't even know where she went to college. AOC even, I would question. But the old school Democrats, they're conniving, they're evil, they're underhanded, they're dastardly, they're selfish, they're maniacal, they're narcissistic, they're pathological, they're liars, all these things, but they're not stupid. Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, even Joe Biden before, they all knew. They all knew what they were doing, and they executed it perfectly. That's why none of them are currently in jail, even though they should be. Listen, we're going to get into Kristi Noem here in just a minute, and we're going to get into Nancy Mace exposing her naked body in Congress. Something I never thought I'd see. Before we do that, though, thank you so much for being here. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel. If you have not yet subscribed, I would love to urge you to take a minute to do it. All you got to do is hit like a button. You just got to click, tap, point, whatever it is. Subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to YouTube, subscribe to Rumble. I didn't even realize our Rumble numbers. We're so close to 50,000 followers on Rumble, 49.7 thousand followers on Rumble. I didn't even realize that. I had no idea we were that close to 50 grand. And I thank each and every one of you who's following us. If you have not yet followed on Rumble, please make a note to do so. And of course, we have our super chat shout outs going all day today. We're not waiting just for Friday. We're not waiting just for every single day. We have a goal, $25 shout outs minimum. You can throw more if you want. And we'll get you some shout outs here throughout the show. Rumble rants, the same thing. Leave us a Rumble rant. We will read whatever you write. It's daring for sure, but we will do it. We will read whatever you write on the Rumble rants. And the super chats, and you have until the end of the program. Actually, that's not true. I just got one. This is the amazing thing about YouTube and Rumble and all these other fantastic platforms where we get to broadcast is that, I'll be like 3 hours after the show. And this is different because radio was different. When I was on the radio show would start, the radio show would end, and that was it. You couldn't listen to it after that. Yeah, there was a podcast later on, but there was no interaction. Now, this is really cool. I do the show live, this live stream. We're live right now. I'm talking to you. You're chit-chatting back to me. I see the comments flying by. It's really amazing. But what happens is after the show, there's people that come and find the video recordings or the podcasts, and to them, it's like it's starting fresh. So I'll start getting people to follow. I'll start getting people to like. I start getting super chats later on through the day because I mentioned it during the live show. I start getting Rumble rants later on through the day because people, they hear it. It's really incredible, and it's another reason why it's superior to any other kind of regular media. But I appreciate all of your blessings, let's just say, and all the blessings go right back into the show. Because you bless me, I can come in here and bless you, Gesundheit, every single day with news and information and inspiration and enlightenment, and we can just have a blast. So again, I thank you for that, and keep in mind anything again that you share with us, we will share back with you tenfold. All right, let's get to. I want to start with Kristi Noem, maybe. Kristi Noem, this fake outrage on Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem was the former governor of South Dakota. Kristi Noem is the current Department of Homeland Security secretary. And Kristi Noem is, again, one of those people who is tough and rugged, but because she's a woman, and because she comes from South Dakota, and because she's a Republican, most of all, what happens is they try to make you think that she is stupid. They try to make you think that she doesn't know what she's talking about, that she's unqualified for the job. And none of that is true. You don't get to be governor of a state of like South Dakota and not know what you're talking about. You don't get to be governor of the state of a place like South Dakota and not understand the law. I mean, she's signed bills into law. She knows the law. She knows the Constitution, and she's sworn an oath to protect the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And there are a lot of foreign enemies. We know all about the foreign enemies. We got foreign enemies tearing across the border for years. Now she and Tom Homan and everybody else are getting them out. We know about domestic enemies. They're right there in Congress. And she was forced to sit and listen to them talk. And one of them was Maggie Hassan from New Hampshire, who tried to trip up Kristi Noem about habeas corpus. And habeas corpus, Kristi Noem answered her question about habeas corpus, and they didn't like the answer, so the media tried to twist it and make it seem like Kristi Noem didn't know what habeas corpus was. Listen to this.
So, Secretary Noem, what is habeas corpus? Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country and suspend their right
let me stop you, ma'am.
Suspend their
Habeas
right
corpus, excuse me, that's incorrect.
President
Habeas
Lincoln
corpus,
used it.
Excuse me. Habeas corpus is the legal principle that requires that the government provide a public reason for detaining and imprisoning people. If not for that protection, the government could simply arrest people, including American citizens, and hold them indefinitely for no reason. Habeas corpus is the foundational right that separates free societies like America from police states like North Korea. As a senator from the live free or die state, this matters a lot to me and my constituents and to all Americans. So Secretary Noem, do you support the core protection that habeas corpus provides, that the government must provide a public reason in order to detain and imprison someone?
Yeah, I support habeas corpus. I also recognize that the President of the United States has the authority under the Constitution to decide if it should be suspended or not.
It has never
Let
been,
us be clear, though,
it
that
has
this
never
president,
been done. It has never been done without approval of Congress. Even Abraham Lincoln got retroactive approval from Congress. So I have been asking executive branch nominees a simple question over the past few months. If the president orders them to break the law, I've been asking, will you follow the law or follow the order? I want to ask you a more specific question here. If the president tries to suspend habeas corpus and a federal court reverses the president's order, will you comply with the court order and uphold habeas corpus, or will you follow the president's directive?
we are following all federal court orders and are complying with that, as is the president, and every decision that I make as
that
well.
is obviously not true for anybody who reads the news. There are federal court orders right now, including returning somebody who was deported mistakenly. But
I wouldn't rely on the news for your facts. So Maggie Hassan launches into this like Wikipedia explanation of habeas corpus, and then she tries to link it to Donald Trump, who, by the way, has not suspended the writ of habeas corpus, which he does have the constitutional right to do, nor has he defied any federal act from a federal judge. He's complained about it on Truth Social. He's appealed to the Supreme Court 100%, but he hasn't defied any court order. But listen, I'm going to play it again from the beginning, because you have to hear. Kristi Noem was asked, what is habeas corpus? And she answered correctly. She said habeas corpus is a constitutional right. And then she went on to say, which, by the way, the president has the right to suspend, so that he can, deport people without due process. And then the media took it as, oh, Kristi Noem doesn't understand what habeas corpus is. She's totally unqualified and unfit. Listen one more time.
I want to talk a little bit about
Is this one here?
the Doge work that we have going on.
So, Secretary Noem, what is habeas corpus?
Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from the.
Right. So she says it's a constitutional right, comma, that the president has to remove. It's cut and dry. But they're trying to twist it and say, no, Donald Trump is going to, he hasn't even done what they've suggested. Yes, it's been suspended in time of war. Yes, it's been suspended in time of invasion. Yes, Abraham Lincoln did it. And yes, Abraham Lincoln got congressional approval, but she even said it there, retroactively. Okay, great. Let Donald Trump suspend habeas corpus, get everybody out of here. Then he can go to Congress and say, hey guys, I did a thing. Can you cover me? Can you get my back on this before this, the courts start ripping me to shreds? Or why don't you wait until President Donald Trump suspends the writ of habeas corpus before you start asking these stupid questions? This is just like the Qatari jet. This is a waste of everyone's time. I always talk about how we go after Congress all the time for wasting our money, but money is replaceable. It's replenishable. You can go out and make more money. You can bring in more manufacturing jobs, and you can get more income tax, and you can raise new tariffs, and you can sell oil. You can make more money. We are running out of time. We have a limited amount of time. Time is a limited resource. I only have so much. You only have so much. We don't know how much each of us has. And President Donald Trump, who's already been shot in the head once, has had at least 2 assassination attempts on his life, probably more. That guy, who knows how much time he has? But in office, we know exactly how much time. He has until January 20th, I think, 2029, 28. Yeah. He has until January 2029 to get everything that he wants done. And he doesn't have any time to waste. And Congress is wasting time. And Maggie Hassan is wasting Kristi Noem's time asking her stupid questions that are hypothetical. And then trying to berate her for giving a wrong answer when she did nothing of the sort. Luckily, Kristi Noem let her have it. Said, listen, your first problem is you're trying to get facts from the news? I wouldn't try to get facts from the news, Senator. That's probably where you're going wrong. Somebody who came to her aid, a couple people came to her aid. Of course, Senator Moody from Florida, Ashley Moody, the newest senator who replaced Marco Rubio, who is the coolest Secretary of State we've had in a very long time. She brought up Alejandro Mayorkas. And man, in comparison, Kristi Noem is such an upgrade, isn't she?
We've been talking a lot about cover-ups and things that were kept from the American people in the last administration. Your predecessor sat here and testified to Congress time and time again while I was busy litigating as an AG, uncovering the real plans. The border is secure. The border is secure. The border is secure. Time and time again, he lied. And in terms of someone that needs to be held accountable for perjuring themselves, it's not just about not providing information. It's about lying to the American people as he systematically made our country weaker and put their lives and their families in danger. I think that is abhorrent. I cannot believe a person was allowed to be trusted with the responsibility he was given, and I am so glad that you're willing to be here and take questions and provide documents about that.
You know who else came to her aid was Senator John the Hoodie Fetterman. Senator Fetterman, who the Democrats are done with. Clearly, they're done with John Fetterman. They don't like that John Fetterman was buddy-buddy with Pete Hegseth. They don't like that John Fetterman went to Mar-a-Lago. When John Fetterman, and I think Donald Trump, again, who's very smart, knew exactly what he was doing. He saw John Fetterman had an inkling of hope. He saw that John Fetterman knew the difference between right and wrong. He saw that John Fetterman had some conservative veins running through his bloodstream, that he could probably be swayed on some issues. And he, I guess, truly believed that John Fetterman, Senator Fetterman, was looking to do the right thing and understood that the Democrats don't always do the right thing. And John Fetterman was excited, ecstatic when RFK Jr. rolled along. He loved Kristi Noem. In fact, he voted for him. And so Donald Trump said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring Senator Fetterman to Mar-a-Lago. I'm going to wine him and dine him. I'm going to make sure that he knows that he's got a friend in me. And we'll see if we can't get him to come over to our side. Well, the Democrats didn't like that at all. And now they're getting ready. They're getting ready to Joe Biden John Fetterman is what they're going to do. They're going to say he's unfit for office. They're already saying that he's depressed. They're saying he has he's mentally incapable. They're saying that, his staffers are leaving. They're forcing his staffers out. So it looks like he's a bad senator. They're going to run into Pennsylvania. They're going to try to run somebody against him. And they do not like that they can't control him. And John Fetterman doesn't care. John Fetterman does not care at all because he knows he doesn't work for the DNC. He works for the people of Pennsylvania. And so he said something I thought was really interesting.
I've been very, very, very pro-immigration, but I early identified the serious problem about the border, the security. And I've said this publicly, I'll say it now, that my party failed to secure our border. And we deserve to pay a political price for that. And I've been trying to find a way forward to move forward on those things. I voted for you. Mm-hmm. Not because you and I agree on a lot of political things and we're in different parties, but you're the secretary and I'm a member of this committee, so I believe we have to find a way to work forward together. I have a constituent, his name's Ramin, and he's an Afghani who served alongside our service members there in the war. He is a resident of Philadelphia. Now, he's a surgeon and he saved American lives, and now he is waiting to be approved like a green card. Mm-hmm. And now he helped evacuate our forces through an airlift. His two brothers, and of course we can't name them due to their concerns, but they're trapped in Pakistan. And the risk for removal for Afghanistan, and they face torture and death because of their commitment for a free and democratic Afghanistan. They've saved American lives, and they have defended our forces. That's part of my concern right now.
Okay, anyway, there's a lot of Fetterman. But the important part that John Fetterman said out loud was that the Democrats have failed. They failed on the border. They failed on immigration. They failed to secure our country. And for that, I believe they should pay a political price. That's a Democrat quote unquote, saying that.
My party failed to secure our border, and we deserve to pay a political price for that.
John Fetterman is out. He's done. The Democrats want him out. John Fetterman knows it. John Fetterman knows he's not going to get any help from the Democrats. John Fetterman knows now that the Democrats are his enemy. I mean, they're everyone's enemy. Any freedom defending, liberty loving patriot, any American who wants to chase and really one day maybe even acquire that American dream, anybody who works and lives in this country, the Democrats are your enemy. Even if you're a Democrat, John Fetterman knows that. And he says, you know what? My party, we stunk it up at the border and we deserve all the retribution from the voters we can get.
My party failed to secure our border, and we deserve to pay a political price for that.
That should be the next, whoever runs against John Fetterman, they should just take that clip and they should do what Donald Trump did, where at the end they go, I'm so-and-so and I approve this message. That's exactly that's all you need. What John Fetterman did, whether he knew it or not, was he gave his opponents, he gave the Republicans in Pennsylvania, he gave any Republican, really, in fact, when I run for Congress, I may use this myself. John Fetterman gave any Republican a sound clip that they can use for their next political campaign.
My party failed to secure our border, and we deserve to pay a political price for that.
I'm Mark Kaye, and I approve this message. That's all it takes. And the Democrats, man, if they didn't want him out before, they definitely want him out now, and they wanted him out before. It's really wild to see. She also got a little bit of praise from Joni Ernst.
I want to talk a little bit about the DOJ work that we have going on, and you've been a very good partner with DOJ. And I want to commend your recent efficiency. You've enhanced election integrity, and you've saved taxpayer dollars. And in October of 2024, my home state of Iowa uncovered over 2,000 cases of non-citizens. Iowa. 2,000 cases of non-citizens registering to vote or voting after self-identifying as non-citizens at the DMV. This happens every day, folks. The previous administration, again, Joe Biden's administration, obstructed Iowa's request for immigrant verification records in the days before our federal election.
That's exactly why he's no longer in power, as John Fetterman will tell you. John Fetterman knows what's up.
My party failed to secure our border, and we deserve to pay a political price for that.
That's one of the best political quotes I think I've ever heard from any person of any party ever in my entire life. That's amazing. Listen, Nancy Mace. Nancy Mace is she's having a moment, man. Nancy Mace is a very interesting person, very interesting politician. She is somebody who has really kind of taken on this role in Congress as the defender of women's rights, as a defender of as an advocate against the trans movement. She's made a lot of enemies. She's made a lot of friends. She was one of the handful of votes to oust Kevin McCarthy. In fact, I think that's when we first really started to learn a little bit about who Nancy Mace was. Oh, pardon me. And what she stood for. She joined with Matt Gaetz and Tim Burchett and a bunch of other folks and said, you know what? Yeah, Kevin McCarthy's out. He broke his vow to us. He didn't do what we asked him to do. He didn't do what we demanded him to do to get the rules package passed, to get our votes to become the speaker. And because of that, you know what we're going to do? We're going to boot him. And she took a lot of political fallout for that, a lot of political flack. But as Scott Adams, who we are praying for, as Scott Adams will tell you, there is no such thing as bad publicity. And so Nancy Mace, she used it to her benefit. And then she started to pick some more high-profile battles with AOC and with Jasmine Crockett and then with Congressman Sarah, what's her name? You know, the transgender one who wanted to use her bathroom, and she was like, all hell to the no. So she introduced a bill saying that only biological females can use the restroom. And that is, that's traditional Nancy Mace. Well, now, recently, she's unleashed this story about this former boyfriend of hers who apparently raped her and took video and photo of her. That's what she alleges. And also other women. And she is exposing him, has been for a while in Congress. She already went through and named names and talked about the horrible things he did to her. Now she's actually showing the videos that he took of her naked in her apartment or house or wherever it was, and she's showing them in Congress. She released there was a hearing yesterday. Listen to what she said before the hearing. She released this on her Instagram or her X or one of them.
Today in my hearing, I'm going to dissect what that guy did to dozens of women hidden on a hidden camera and other devices as he recorded them with impunity, without their knowledge, without their permission, and without their consent. Patrick Bryant, I hope you're ready. I'm also going to be sharing some of the imagery that Patrick Bryant, that guy right there, took of myself and other women without our knowledge, without our permission, and without our consent. Naked bodies, women's legs spread apart, different genital areas. And he had a catalog almost, I think, these different fetishes of what types of videos and photos he liked to capture of women without their knowledge. I'll go over that too. I'm also going to be going over some of the bills that I've worked on, particularly on voyeurism. The Sue Voyeurs Act and the Stop Voyeurs Act. Those bills were born out of the videos I saw of myself and many other women, because this is not about me. I'm fighting for their rights. We have 3 witnesses coming in today, and I hope that you'll tune in to hear my questions of the experts and see some of the evidence this guy did to women, to hurt them, to strip away their privacy. And he did it for years, and he saved those files of those women for years, one up to a decade. This man still roams free to film women without their knowledge, without their permission, without their consent. Nothing is stopping him from continuing to do that.
Okay,
Today,
so that
hearing-
was her announcement of what she was going to do in the hearing, and then, true to her word, she went into the hearing. And here's the Newsweek article: Nancy Mace reacts to ex-fiance's denial after sharing nude photo in hearing. Republican Representative Nancy Mace has responded to her ex-fiance's denials after sharing a still of what she described was her naked silhouette from a video. Patrick Bryant, who was Mace's fiance until 2023, said in a statement on Tuesday that he categorically denies false and outrageous claims made by Mace, and that he would do whatever is necessary and appropriate to clear his name at the right time. Mace responded to Bryant's statement on X, where she wrote, "If you aren't a rapist, why would you film a rape, and why would you be filmed raping another?" And the whole thing is crazy. But here she is, and I think the image is blurred out, so we should be good to go.
This naked silhouette is my naked body. Starting on November 5th, 2023, I discovered my former fiance, Patrick Bryant, had filmed women without their knowledge, without their permission, and without their consent. Behind me is a screenshot from one of the videos I found of myself. The yellow circle, this naked silhouette, is my naked body. I didn't know that I had been filmed. I didn't give my consent. I didn't give my permission. And this particular video that Patrick Bryant recorded of me on his secret camera, he saved for over 3 years without my knowledge. I didn't pick this fight. I don't even want to be here today and discuss this. This is a communication I got from his attorney that I received the other day, because he's going to sue me for doing the right thing. So I say, bring it on, brother, because there is no defamation in the truth. And if you're going to be the kind of moron and monster that sues his own victims, may God help you. This
she scares me.
Naked silhouette.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a little scared by Nancy Mace. But look, and that's what was going on yesterday. I mean, it's really, you have to applaud her. You have to applaud her for going after her attacker and for protecting other women and for really exposing herself literally and figuratively in the process. But this, we just saw the Take It Down Act get signed, which was about AI and deepfake images of women. That's a new huge issue, and letting people hold media companies and social media companies accountable, making it illegal, adding all kinds of penalties now, which we didn't have in the past. And so Nancy Mace is continuing the battle and saying, look, there's even more. There's now voyeurism. There's hidden camera videos. There's revenge porn. There's all kinds of stuff that we still need to tackle. And she's willing to tackle it, and she has now made it. She's really now made it her personal goal. Now, the interesting thing is about Nancy Mace that she is, I believe, running for governor of South Carolina. I don't know if she's actually confirmed or if it's still just hearsay, but Nancy Mace, I believe, is looking to run for governor of. Nancy Mace is considering a run for South Carolina governor. Nancy Mace yet to announce bid for South Carolina governor. Nancy Mace, lacks maturity. Okay, so anyway, I'm just reading the headlines here. So Nancy Mace, it's being rumored, she's not like Byron Donalds, who like leapt out of the front of the pack and got an endorsement from Donald Trump and everybody else. She's like, I'm contemplating it. I'm toying with it. I'm doing some due diligence. So if she does run for South Carolina governor, that's going to eat up a lot of her time. And I don't know that she's going to have the time to push this bill and get this kind of legislation passed. So that's probably why she's working so diligently on it now, trying to do whatever she can to get it through, because this is her life's goal. This is her life's work. And if she gets this passed, and if she gets this through, and if this becomes, codified into law, and if she can protect all of these other women who are victims of other lecherous dudes like this guy, allegedly, because I know I don't want him to sue me either, then she'll probably say, great, my job's done here. I'm going to go run for governor of South Carolina, which would be really interesting. Governor Nancy Mace, that would be a thing for sure. That would be a thing for sure. Listen, we got to talk about the bill. We got to talk about this big, beautiful bill. So Caroline Leavitt, and this is really funny. Caroline Leavitt yesterday was talking about the big, beautiful bill. I have it here. So she was talking about how President Donald Trump went to the White House, or went to the Congress yesterday. He went to the Capitol building, and he was talking about the big, beautiful bill. He was pushing the big, beautiful bill. He was trying to convince all of these Republicans, Thomas Massie excluded, because he just thinks Thomas Massie should be primaried. But he was talking about everybody about the big, beautiful bill. And Caroline Leavitt mentioned it in her press briefing. Listen to this, though, because this made me laugh.
Earlier this morning, President Trump traveled to Capitol Hill to meet with members of the House of Representatives to talk about the one big, beautiful bill that we are trying to pass through Congress. The president is now back at the White House, where he is taking meetings, and later this afternoon he will be making an announcement from the Oval Office with our Secretary of Defense. He's in charge of our military, Pete Hegseth.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Why is she talking to the press like they're a bunch of idiots? Well, because they're a bunch of idiots. I'm just kidding. It was Bring Your Children to Work Day yesterday, so you can hear there were some babies crying or like some kids making noise in the background. But it was Bring Your Children to Work Day, and they celebrate that at the White House too. So I guess she had her kids there. A bunch of the media brought their kids there. So she spoke, that's the Secretary of Defense. He's in charge of our military. Oh, good. And we have that announcement coming up. But before we get to the big, beautiful bill, before we tell you what Donald Trump did and said on the Hill, before we get to Jim Jordan explaining why this bill wraps up pretty much every conservative principle we have, I did want to thank Cesar Garcia. Cesar Garcia dropped a $10 super chat today and said, thank you for all you do. Cesar Garcia, we really appreciate it. We appreciate that super chat. We appreciate the support, and we appreciate the kind words as well. If you'd like to drop a super chat, we'll read your comment on the, if you wanted, here's the thing. This is like a billboard for you. This is like, if you have a business or something like that, you just throw your website up there, super chat away. We'll get it on the show. We'll get it on the show for sure. But Cesar Garcia, thank you so much. Definitely appreciate all of that. So Caroline Leavitt says Donald Trump's going and he's going to have a meeting. And we played you the clips yesterday. He talked about how it was a meeting of love.
That's really what we did today. I think it was a really great, that was a meeting of love. Let me tell you, that was love in that room. There was no shouting. I think it was a meeting of love. There were a couple of things that we talked about specifically where some people felt a little bit one way or the other, not a big deal. And I covered them. It wasn't so much a speech. I covered certain points. And I think I'd be very surprised.
Yeah. So he's like, I'd be very surprised. I'd be very, very surprised if this thing didn't pass. I'd be very surprised if it didn't get through. And somebody, of course, asked him about Thomas Massie. And when Donald Trump is asked about Thomas Massie, he basically always says, get rid of the guy.
Say it. I'm a fiscal hawk. I'm a bigger fiscal hawk. There's nobody like me as a fiscal hawk.
Massie said that that's more deficit than Biden did. This bill kind of
because we have to fix the country.
Do you think that Thomas Massie is correct in saying that this is adding Biden?
No, I don't think Thomas Massie understands government. I think he's a grandstander, frankly. He'll probably vote. We don't even talk to him much. I think he should be voted out of office. And I just don't think he understands government. If you ask him a couple of questions, he never gives you an answer. He just says, I'm a no. He thinks he's going to get publicity. And you have that. You have that. They've got some too. Go ahead. Mr. President.
Yeah, but Thomas Massie may not be the biggest problem for Donald Trump this time around. Thomas Massie may not be the biggest thing standing in the way of President Donald Trump. It may actually be someone closer to his old home, and that is Mike Lawler from New York. Mike Lawler from New York is a representative, again, in a blue state, in a blue district. And when you're a Republican in a blue state, when you're a Republican in a blue district, you have to do things to appease Democrats. And if you don't appease Democrats, you're not going to get the moderate votes. And if you don't get the moderate votes, you're not going to be a congressman. And if you're not a congressman, some Democrat is. And that means that we could lose control of the House of Representatives. And Mike Lawler knows that. And Mike Lawler is using it to his full advantage so that he can try to argue that we need an even bigger deduction for salt, not the stuff you put on your food and your French fries, the stuff that is deducted from blue states like New York and California, where there's a state and local tax. That's what SALT stands for, state and local tax. And what happens is, up until now, there's been a $10,000 cap, meaning if you live in New York and you make a certain amount of money, because here's the deal, and I've explained this before and I'll explain it again. When you live in a state with income tax, you pay income tax in the state and you pay income tax on the federal level. When I lived in Maryland, we paid income tax to the state, we paid income tax on the federal level. And what people complain about is, I'm being taxed twice. And I got to pay all these federal taxes, and then I got to pay some state taxes. Now, there's some states like Tennessee, Texas, Florida, New Hampshire, Alaska, one of the Dakotas. I always forget which one. And they don't have state income tax. There's no state income tax here in Florida. So we don't have that problem. And so we just pay the federal tax and we're good to go. We're good to go. No income tax states. I think I'm missing one. Here we go. What do we have? Alaska, Florida, Nevada, New Hampshire, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Washington, and Wyoming. So there you go. Those are the states where there's no state income tax. Now, if you live in one of those states, and those are pretty big states, Texas, Florida, those are two of the biggest. They take up a lot. That's a lot of the population right there. Throw in Tennessee, which is growing, and Nevada. You got a high amount of population that's not paying state income tax. They're just paying the federal income tax. Well, what happens is these SALT deductions, these people in these blue states are like, I don't want to be double taxed. So they allow them to deduct up to $10,000, which if you're rich and if you're a Republican in a blue state, odds are you are. Otherwise, why would you be there? Then you're like, that's not enough. I need more. I need more of a deduction. I can't get by deducting just $10,000. You know how much I'm paying to the state? So they've tripled it. It's now $30,000. And they're still complaining. Mike Lawler's still like, that's not enough. And if we don't get the SALT deduction higher, then we're going to have serious problems keeping the House of Representatives.
From 2020 and 2022, we flipped 10 seats in New York and California. We have a 5-seat majority. And so it was New York and California that delivered the majority. Obviously, two states, we can all agree, poorly run by two terrible Democratic governors and supermajorities in the state legislature that have passed insane legislation, increased spending. In New York, they've increased spending by $100 billion in a decade. We have the highest tax burden in the country. In my district, 3 of the 4 counties that I represent, Maria, are 3 of the top 16 highest property tax counties in America. So when you take property taxes combined with state income taxes, it blows well past the $30,000 cap, which is why this matters so much. And my point at the end of the day is, if no bill passes, the SALT cap goes to unlimited. Now, it would also be tied to the AMT coming back in full force, and that would be terrible for New York. But for us to agree to a cap, there's got to be real relief to the middle class. And that's what we're negotiating on. We're not trying to stop the bill from proceeding. We're trying to make sure that our constituents get real tax relief. That's what this is about.
Yeah. The fact of the matter is, there's no tax relief in Florida for people on the federal level. He's going to get a deduction. All of his constituents are going to get deductions. Why? Well, because they pay income tax and property tax to the state of New York. Fine, move. Or better yet, don't move. Fix your state. If you're sick and tired of paying income tax and federal tax and high property tax, you know what you do? Vote out the Democrats in New York and vote in some fiscal Republicans who are going to change all of that. Vote in some people who know how to handle your state, fix your state. Don't come and pick our pockets down here in Florida. Don't pick the pockets of the people in Tennessee and Texas and South Dakota and Nevada. Don't pick their pockets because you can't handle your own government. Your states are a mess. We get it. We understand that California and New York are a mess. Fix them. You don't want your income tax? Great. Do what we did. Instead of trying to steal from us, copy us. And if you don't, then there should be some kind of salt tax or salt deduction relief for everybody else. It should be even if I don't pay state and local tax, I should then be able to deduct 30% of my income tax from my income tax. Wouldn't that be great? Give us let's see, if I'm taxed at 30%, then I should really only be taxed at 20%. I want 30% of my 30% deduction taken away. And then I'll pay 20% tax, and then fine, you can have all the salt deductions you want up there in New York. You can live in squalor. You can live in California, and you can wander through the poop and the crackheads and the people with needles through their arms and the homeless problem, and you can have all the fires you want because your governor won't bring the water down because he doesn't want to kill the smelts. You do whatever. Do you, boo? Let us just get our deduction as well. That's going to be one of the sticking points. That's going to be one of the problems. Jim Jordan from Ohio says, look, this is the bill to end all bills. This is the bill that has everything the majority of Republicans want. And if you're a Republican, this bill is for you.
Remember, this bill not only does that with the tax cuts that are in the legislation, but this embraces every key Republican principle we have. It says cut taxes, let parents and families keep more of their money to spend on their goals and dreams. It says provide money to keep the border secure that President Trump has now got secure. It says let's require work for able-bodied adults. That's good for taxpayers. That's good for our economy. Most importantly, it's good for the recipient. It gets them out to a better, more productive life. And this bill also says let's give parents the ability to get to their kids to the school of their choice. School choice, tax cuts, secure border, and work requirements in our social welfare system. That's why Democrats hate it, because Democrats are against all those core conservative common sense principles that our party has. So that's why we should pass it. I know the deficits are too high and the debt's too big, and we need to deal with that. And this bill does to some degree, not as much as we should. But still, it's a really good bill with those four fundamental Republican principles in it. Let's pass it. And as you say, Stuart, let's get our economy growing.
Now, here's the thing. I'm no fan of raising the deficit and the debt. I'm not one of those people that's like, we need to just borrow forever and we can pay it back. I think that's bad. I understand that there's a potential fiscal collapse of this country. However, I do know that both parties have raised the debt ceiling for no reason whatsoever, just to kick the can down the road. I know that both parties have in the past raised the debt ceiling, made the debt even worse, just so that they could go home for Christmas. And nobody got anything from it except for Vladimir Zelensky. This has been going on for decades. With this increase to the debt, there is, yes, some good stuff coming from it. There is, yes, an offset of the debt, not as much, and it's not dollar for dollar, but this is not the, hey, we ran up our credit card, Christmas is coming, we're all tired, let's just jack it up and we'll deal with it in March. That's not one of these. This is, here are all the things that we want to get done. Here's how we're going to try to minimize the increase to the debt. Is there going to be an increase to the debt? Yeah, nobody's hiding that. Nobody's saying there's not. But they're saying that if we don't pass this bill, the bad things that happen are going to be way worse than the good things that happen without it. The tax increases, this, that, the other. I mean, it's going to be, the border opening back up. So there's still a battle brewing and there's still a lot to get done. I think the deficit hawks know they're not going to get a dollar for dollar, mitigation. They know it's not going to be, they know they're not going to get, dollar for dollar savings in this kind of bill. And I think they know that at the end of the day, there is a lot of economic good. So it'll be interesting to see how far down they can get that debt. It'll be interesting to see how far down they can bring the spending. But the good thing about this bill also passing is that if the Democrats all vote against it, which we know they're going to do, then the Democrats are voting against tax cuts for everybody. The Democrats are voting against no tax on tips. The Democrats are voting against no tax on overtime. The Democrats are voting against helping seniors on Medicare and Social Security. The Democrats, and all of that then becomes a campaign issue. It all becomes, here's what the Democrats voted no to. Here's what the Democrats don't want you to have. The Democrats had the opportunity to put $15,000 back in your pocket, and they said no. They want to keep it for themselves. That's what the Democrats are for, and that's, again, why this is such a big deal. So at the end of the day, I think that's how you're going to start swaying some of the New York Republicans, some of the California Republicans. You're going to give them the opportunity to have a line of talking points that explains that the Democrats voted against all of these things that are going to help Americans. And if you can't win with that, I mean, maybe you shouldn't be in Congress anyway. You could always say what John Fetterman said.
My party failed to secure our border, and we deserve to pay a political price for that.
Yeah, I agree. There's so many things that the Democrats deserve to pay a political price for, and there's so many things that they are. And there's a whole bunch of Republicans that deserve to pay a political price too. And you know who you are, and if you don't worry, because I will tell you when the time is right. Hey, listen, speaking of paying the political price, there's a lot of people who are paying the political price when it comes to their investments, when it comes to their future, when it comes to their stocks and their IRAs, because they didn't invest properly. And one of our, there it is. One of our good friends, Paul Stone, who owns Colonial Metals Group, has offered up a free gold guide because gold investments and precious metal investments are superior to some of these traditional investments that you can see every single day on the news are fluctuating just because gold and silver can bulletproof your financial savings and your financial future. If you go to freegoldguide.com/KAYE, which is my last name, freegoldguide.com/K, you can make your savings bulletproof too. You can secure your financial future with gold, which is an amazing asset. It protects your assets and your financial future. It grows your assets and your financial future way better than any other kind of IRA. It's simple and to safeguard your retirement with tax-free, speaking of taxes, and penalty-free investments. And also, there's a limited time offer on qualifying accounts, up to $7,500 in free bonus silver sent to your home or stored in a secure vault. That's really generous. I mean, silver is great, but you know what's better than silver? Free silver. Silver's great. Free silver is even greater. So go to freegoldguide.com/KAYE, freegoldguide.com/KAYE, and get your free gold guide today, courtesy of Colonial Metals Group. Speaking of gold, we talked about this a little bit earlier today, but I want to mention it again because it's exciting. This is good stuff. Donald Trump is going to protect the United States of America, not just with a strong military, not just by making peace deals with the Middle East, not just by making a deal with Iran so that they could stop their nuclear proliferation, but by building a great big gold dome around the United States of America.
In the campaign, I promised the American people that I would build a cutting-edge missile defense shield to protect our homeland from the threat of foreign missile attack. And that's what we're doing. Today, I'm pleased to announce that we have officially selected an architecture for this state-of-the-art system that will deploy next-generation technologies across the land, sea, and space, including space-based sensors and interceptors. And Canada has called us, and they want to be a part of it. So we'll be talking to them. They want to have protection also. So as usual, we help Canada do the best we can. This design for the Golden Dome will integrate with our existing defense capabilities and should be fully operational before the end of my term. So we'll have it done in about 3 years. Once fully constructed, the Golden Dome will be capable of intercepting missiles even if they are launched from other sides of the world and even if they are launched from space. And we will have the best system ever built. As you know, we helped Israel with theirs, and it was very successful, and now we have technology that's even far advanced from that, but including hypersonic missiles, ballistic missiles, and advanced cruise missiles. All of them will be knocked out of the air. We will truly be completing the job that President Reagan started 40 years ago, forever ending the missile threat to the American homeland, and the success rate is very close to 100%, which is incredible when you think of it. You're shooting bullets out of the air.
drones and ballistic missiles and intergalactic missiles and interstellar missiles and foreign creatures from another planet. All these things we'll be able to shoot out of the sky with Donald Trump's new Golden Dome, which is pretty exciting. And it's something that we've heard a lot about. I did a whole feature on it today in the 47 Daily podcast, which if you don't listen to, you definitely should. Every morning we do the 47 Daily podcast. You can get it at the47daily.com. But Donald, this is something that's been long in the works ever since Reagan announced the Star Wars plan. Reagan wanted Star Wars, and Star Wars was not built. Not because we didn't want it, not because it wasn't a good idea, but because Reagan was so far ahead of his time. He was dreaming up stuff that was science fiction back then. Now it can actually be fact. And Donald Trump says it's going to be fact in 3 years. And wouldn't you know it, Canada, freeloading Canada, calls us up and is like, hey, we want it. Can you cover us too, eh? It's really kind of. Mark Carney comes down here and he tries to, the strong arm Donald Trump. And then you got the other guy, Ford from Ontario, who's talking about strong arming Donald Trump. And they're taking our liquor off the shelves, which is stupid because they already bought it. I don't know what taking it off the shelves. That's just a waste of their own money, which isn't worth much anyway. And now they have the audacity to call us and say, by the way, protect us with the dome. And Donald Trump said, we're going to do that because we're nice like that. But it's really exciting. And in 3 years' time, that is an engineering feat like we've never seen before. Think about this. You are building an entire missile defense system around not just one, but two countries, two of the largest countries in the world. Canada is the second largest country by landmass in the world. When you add the United States to it, it's the largest landmass together, or the largest country in the world. And Donald Trump's going to protect it all with a missile defense system, just like the Iron Dome in Israel. And anytime there's a threat, whether it's from China, Iran, Mars, doesn't matter. I thought the threat would be coming from Canada, but apparently not, because they want us to protect them too. They may not have missiles. I think they just have slingshots. But I think we'll be okay. I think they ride around on their horses, the Mounties, and they hit this, they're like, or snowballs. They maybe have a lot of snowballs. But they probably put the ice in them like we used to do when we were kids. Anyway, but that's the fact of the matter. Donald Trump is saying, look, in 3 years' time, I'm going to build this amazing Golden Dome for the United States of America. I'm going to protect us from every single foreign threat, every single foreign enemy. We're going to be able to take down missiles, intergalactic missiles, ballistic missiles, drones, which is the thing that scares me the most. We're going to get all these illegal immigrants out of here. We're going to secure our border. We're going to stop the flow of fentanyl. We're going to do all these things. And we're going to do it in record time. And there's still Democrats out there who don't want any of it done. They don't want us to be protected from China. They don't want Iran to stop making nuclear energy. They don't want the border secure. They don't want the illegal immigrants flown out of here. We heard Maggie Hassan. She was all flipping out that these illegal immigrants, habeas corpus, due process, blah, 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 blah. There was a press conference. The guy, I forget his name, but he's the acting director of ICE. And he was talking about illegal immigrants who've been removed from this country because they're illegal and they're criminal. And he said, look, they got due process.
So these individuals that are up here today, these represent the true national security threats and public safety threats that ICE officers and agents nationwide go after. I just want to go over a few of the highlighted cases that you all have in front of you. So, for instance, we have an individual that's convicted of homicide and armed robbery and served 15 years in confinement. Due to countries that won't take their citizens back, this individual was released back into the community under ICE supervision to prey upon people again. Another individual sentenced to life in confinement, convicted of first-degree murder. His country would not take him back, forcing ICE to have to re-release him back into the community to re-offend. As Tricia highlighted before, we have an individual that raped and sexually assaulted a mentally handicapped victim. Because his country would not take him back, ICE had to find a third country to take him back so we can remove this public safety threat. As a career law enforcement officer and a career officer with ICE, I've been dealing with these recalcitrant countries for years, having to see repeated murderers, sex offenders, violent criminals re-released back into the United States because their home countries would not take them back. Yet, under President Trump and under the leadership of Secretary Noem, we are now able to remove these public safety threats so they won't pry on the community anymore, and they won't have any more victims in the United States.
Yeah, and there's still Democrats who are angry about it. Not just LaMonica McIver, which, by the way, Tom Homan was asked about LaMonica McIver, And he's like, she's out of control.
Well, look, they have a right to be there for oversight, but there's a proper way to do it. Forcing your way in the facility, putting hands on an ICE officer is not the way to do it. So I think she was out of line. I've seen the videotape. I've seen 6 or 7 different videotapes. They show her acting unprofessionally. These are the same people who, for 4 years, are saying President Trump wasn't above the law. Well, either is she. There's a line you can't cross, and I think she crossed it. Now, I'll leave it up to the Alina Habba, the prosecutor who's handling this case, to prove the case, but the video makes it clear to me that she wasn't being professional that day. She certainly didn't act like a member of Congress. She certainly could have requested a tour. They give tours all the time, and if she got the tour, and many people have had the tour since, they've seen a grade A facility, the highest detention standards in the industry, that puts to shame any facility, county or state, that New Jersey has. So it was. I think it was politics over public safety. That's a facility where the worst of the worst are housed. We can't lose control of that facility. But her actions cause a ruckus at that facility, makes that facility unsafe.
Yeah, and there could be potential riots. Any distraction that the guards have and a congresswoman, I mean, that's really what it all boils down to. These Congress people, LaMonica McIver, the one that came with her, the mayor of whatever, they came to the ICE facility and they said, we demand entry so that we can conduct oversight, which is our constitutional right. And they said, not right now. You got to make an appointment. And then they said, no, now. And they bum rushed. And when they bum rushed, guards had to be taken off of their watch. Police had to rush to the scene. There was a whole hubbub. And when guards are being used in a capacity that they're not supposed to be used for, or when ICE agents are taken away to deal with some kind of scuffle at the gate, then that makes everybody less safe, because that's a great time for a riot to break out in the prison. That's a great time for someone to try to break out of prison. Years ago, let me tell you a story. Years ago, I worked in Raleigh, North Carolina. I worked for a top 40 radio station. I was the morning show producer, the Bob and Madison Showgram. And I was the producer, and I was 20, I don't even know what, like 20, maybe 22, 23, maybe. I was so young. And I was the producer of the show. It was a great show. Bob and Madison were great people. We had a lot of fun. And Bob, who was, I mean, these guys were super celebrities in Raleigh, North Carolina at the time, wanted a bus. He wanted, because, you know, in the radio industry, you would have a van and you'd put the logo on the van. Sometimes you'd have like a lot of the rock stations would get Hummers, put the logo on the Hummer. He's like, no, I want a tour bus. I want a big ass bus. And he actually called it the big ass bus. And so because they were superstars and they made lots of money for the station, the owner bought him a used bus, right? This is the best part. It's a used tour bus from some old rock band that wasn't using it anymore. And they brought it back to Raleigh and they found somebody to wrap it. And it said Bob and Madison's big ass bus. And so it was me and Bob and Madison and another guy. And Madison goes, who's going to drive this bus? And Bob goes, Mark's going to drive. He goes, Mark's going to drive it. I go, wait, I'm going to drive. I've never driven a bus. He goes, it's easy. I'll show you. So this bus gets delivered and he goes, all right, first of all, crank it up. And we were the only two that could drive stick shift at the time. So he goes, crank it up. So I crank it up and he goes, we got to wait 15 minutes for the air brakes to fill. And I go, what's an air brake? And he explains to me the concept of air brakes. And I go, what happens if we don't wait? He goes, then the brakes don't work and we crash. And I said that we should probably wait. So he goes, all right, put it in reverse. So I'm like 22 years old, never driven anything larger than a U-Haul. And now I'm driving a tour bus around Raleigh, North Carolina. I put it in reverse. I back up. I think I knocked over a tree, put it in forward. The clutch is like grinding, I'm grinding the gears. Finally, we start going and he's like, this is great. So we get out on the highway and I'm like, I'm like driving this bus. Oh, CDL, not even a thing. I don't have a CDL. I have no commercial driver's license. I'm just driving a bus. I didn't even think about it. And all of a sudden he goes, we're driving down the road and there is an amphitheater, like a musical amphitheater where acts like Jimmy Buffett would come. And well, Kenny Chesney wasn't a thing back then, but all the Brooks and Dunn, all the acts would come to this amphitheater, and right next to it was a women's prison. So the amphitheater, we thought the parking lot would be empty, so it'd be a good place to practice. So Bob and Matt, we're all there, Bob and Madison and me and the other guy, and we're all sitting there, and Bob goes, take a left up here into the amphitheater. And I go, okay, great. And I take a left, but I don't take a left into the amphitheater. I take a left into the women's prison. And I'm driving down this road thinking I'm going to the amphitheater, but no. I'm headed in a big tour bus right toward a women's prison. And man, cop cars, squad cars, ATVs, people on motorcycles, lights everywhere, horns blasting, woo! And I slam on the brakes and I stop the bus and we're surrounded. And this guy stands in front of the bus and goes, "Turn it around, get it out of here." And I just go, "Huh?" He's like, "Get it out of here." And so, and again, I'm 22 years old. I have no commercial driver's license, never driven a bus in my life. I'm surrounded by cops at a women's prison. And I wrote on them and I go, "Amphitheater?" And he goes, "Next driveway, get this out of here." So now I've got to do this like 3-point turn surrounded by police officers. I'm grinding gears, this whole thing. They didn't care. I turned around, I went out, and then I went to the amphitheater. But the fact of the matter is, they know that just pulling in drew so many resources away from the prison that if there had been a riot at that women's prison, that would have been the ample time. That would have been the opportune time because all the resources, boom. That's how people break out of prison. They create some kind of commotion. You know, it's like if you want to shoplift something, you have somebody go in the back and start screaming and yelling so everybody runs to the back, and then security's at the back of the store, you pick something out of the front of the store, you walk out. That's how it's done. I've never done that, but I've seen it done. And it's the same thing. So of course, if you have Congress people and elected officials causing a ruckus at a high security federal detention center where ICE, where illegal immigrant criminal gang members are being held, that's a problem. Not for Eric Swalwell, though. Eric Swalwell wants to do it more.
In jail for an indefinite amount of time, we can't trust them. So we have to do our oversight duties. And she was in the right to go and do that. And I promise you, there's going to be more unnoticed visits by my colleagues where they show up and they better be let in.
You pointed out
they better be. What does that even mean? There's going to be more unnoticed? You mean we're not going to notice them, or you're not going to send notice of the visit? I imagine he means we're not going to send prior notice. But there's going to be more unnoticed visits by my colleagues to detention centers, and they better be let in. They better be let in, or else what? Is this another Hakeem Jeffries empty threat? We already know that we heard about Hakeem Jeffries. We heard what he said about, well, you're gonna find out. They'll find out. They'll find out. They'll find out. We never did. We never found out anything. There was nothing at all that we ever found out. They'll find out. It's a red line. It's a red line. They'll find out. It's a red line. Where's the audio?
I mean,
there it is.
Doesn't that broach?
They'll find out.
What would you do?
They'll find out.
What recourse? I mean, but doesn't that broach a?
They'll find out.
Doesn't that go across?
That's a red line.
What's the red line though? I mean, I know we have this.
It's a red line. It's very clear.
It's very clear. We have no idea what to do. We have no idea what to do, so we're just going to keep doing it, and we're going to threaten to do something that we have no idea about. Eric Swalwell is now saying we're going to do more of this, and they better not stop us. And if you do, you'll find out. Right now, nothing has happened to any Republicans in Congress. Unfortunately, nothing has happened to LaMonica McIver either. And I really feel like this is a wasted opportunity. I feel like they're going to keep doing it because LaMonica McIver is going to be let off the hook. LaMonica McIver, unless they're, look, and I talked about this yesterday, Matt Gaetz was investigated without any criminal. Matt Gaetz had a file at the DOJ. They investigated him for complaints and they didn't charge him. They said, we're not charging you. Yet the ethics committee continued to investigate him. No charges were filed. Matt Gaetz was not arrested for anything. He never went to trial. But the ethics committee, they didn't like Matt Gaetz. Why? Because, well, you know why. Matt Gaetz exposed them for who they were. Matt Gaetz looked at the ethics committee and said, you know, for a bunch of people who are supposed to be keeping the ethics of the committee, of the Congress, you guys are pretty unethical. And I'm not just talking about John Rutherford, but this is why the ethics committee hated Matt Gaetz.
So one of the committees where people have a lot of information is the Appropriations Committee, because they can view almost any vector of government funding. And so, you know, this is Mr. Rutherford's office. He's on the Ethics Committee and the Appropriations Committee. 152 stock trades. Stocks go through the roof. And, actually bought Raytheon stock the day that Russia invaded Ukraine.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if every American could make money off of war.
Yeah, setting aside the whole shame and ethics questions. How many more on our hit list here?
There are a few more. I wish there were fewer on the hit list. I wish we could only stop at one or two offices, but as it turns out, So energy is a sector that sees a lot of congressional stock trading. Sure. And we have members who are on the Energy Subcommittee of Appropriations, like Michael Guest, chairman of the Ethics Committee, and he's traded somewhere between tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars in energy stocks. He's been buying online gaming stocks and just making a killing on them. So you would think that the people that were on the Ethics Committee would be your best allies in this fight, but indeed they're some of the most prolific traders. And not only trading, but in the case of Mr. Guest, trading in an area where he has access to energy information more so than almost any other American.
And no indication that he wants to maybe slow down, pump the brakes, recognize that there might be some appearance of impropriety here?
It seems as though the pace is only accelerating.
All right.
I mean, look at that. 2 members, the chairman of the Ethics Committee, Michael Guest, is trading energy stocks. John Rutherford, 152 stock trades, including Raytheon, the day that Russia invaded Ukraine. Those stock trades, by the way, were brought up in front of the Ethics Committee. But guess what? They were thrown out. Why? Because the chairman of the Ethics Committee is doing the exact same thing. They're looking out for each other. That's why Matt Gaetz had an Ethics Committee investigation, even though there was no crime. George Santos, who, yes, is now in jail, or is going to jail. I don't know, did he check himself in yet? I'm not even sure. George Santos had no criminal complaints, no charges brought against him. He wasn't arrested for anything. Not only did they bring up an ethics report, but they said, throw this guy out. They voted, and the Republicans threw him out of Congress. They executed the career of one of their own, putting them in a very dangerous and precarious position when it comes to the majority. Instead of letting the voters decide, instead of letting the courts decide, the Ethics Committee, led by Michael Guest and John Rutherford, they were the ones who blackballed it. When Donald Trump chose Matt Gaetz to be his attorney general, there was even more problems. Why? Well, because the Ethics Committee said, even though Matt Gaetz is no longer in Congress, we're going to release the report anyway, which is totally unheard of. There's no precedent for that. If he's not a Congress member anymore, it's out of the jurisdiction of the Ethics Committee. It's the U.S. House of Representatives Ethics Committee. If you're in the U.S. House of Representatives, guess what? Then you are subject to the Ethics Committee rules and regulations. If you resign your position, it doesn't matter anymore. All the Democrats and 2 Republicans voted to make that Matt Gaetz report public. And that's why Donald Trump had to withdraw his nomination, or that's why Matt Gaetz withdrew his own name. And I'll bet you can't guess who those 2 Republicans were. If you said Michael Guest and Congressman John Rutherford from Florida's 5th District, I would bet that that's a pretty safe bet. Hey, listen, speaking of safe bets, I have a brand new channel, which I linked in the description of this video, and this is for Mark Kaye Marketing. If you are one of the people that watches what I do here on YouTube every single day, and you're like, I not only like what Mark Kaye wants to do, but I want to learn how Mark Kaye does it. If you're the kind of person that says, you know what, I not only like Mark Kaye's merchandise and his online store and his books and his ability to create content almost nonstop. Every time I go on my phone, there's Mark Kaye with a new reel, with a new post. I love how Mark Kaye is able to create media every single day and turn it into a not just fun content to consume, but also a livelihood. I want to learn the business of what political podcasters or any podcasters do, then this channel is for you. It's called Mark Kaye Marketing. There's a link in the description of this video, and I've started to post all kinds of stuff. I posted a video the other day. Look, it's already got 500 views. I made $5,000 in 1 minute. That's a true story. I'll show you how you can too. Warning, what not to do when selling books online. This is a great video. It's all about James Comey and how you should not sell books like James Comey, how you should sell books like Donald Trump, how Americans become online millionaires. In the United States of America, you have a better opportunity to become a millionaire than anywhere else. And I show you how and why. How to make $1 million a year on YouTube. If you're on YouTube right now and you're watching YouTube, guess what? You have the power to do what so many people are doing, and that is making a lot of money simply from YouTube. This channel is up. We're going to be adding to it. In fact, as soon as I get done here, I'm going to be adding some more stuff to it. And all you have to do is go and subscribe, watch the videos. Like I said, it's my pet project, but it's also a lot of great stuff. This is what I do. Mark Kaye Saves the Republic is what I do. Mark Kaye Marketing shows you how I do it. And if that's something that interests you, well, it's there for you. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for subscribing. If you haven't yet done it, subscribe right now. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Tell that podcast platform, I want more of this. I want to learn every single day. I want to hear the truth every single day. I want to be entertained and enlightened every day. I want to know who's coming after me, how they're coming after me, and how I can protect myself and my family and my finances and my future. I want to know how I can fight so I can save the Republic. See you tomorrow.